Okay, hey everyone. I'm Darsh Kumar, and for today's session, I'll be walking you through Unity engine, which is a game engine made by Unity Technologies, and you use it to make games or animations and many more 3D stuff also. And so, the first thing what you have to know about Unity is how to actually get it for yourself. And for that, what you do is you go to unity.com, and over there you go to developer tools and directly to download Unity. Uh, from there, you will have two options for either first time users or returning users. And before even this, it will ask you to log in. Uh, I am not asked to log in here because I have logged into this website previously, but it will ask you to log in or create an account. So do so accordingly, and then it will ask for like this either first time user or a returning user. uh, what the first time setup will do, that it would hold your hand throughout the process, and will also lead to you making your very first game right after installing it. And for returning users, it would simply install Unity. So I'm a returning user, so it will go I'll do the Unity I will do the returning user setup, and you accept the terms and download Unity Hub. So after you have installed the Unity Hub, you will get a screen that looks kind of like this, but with no projects in here. And uh, so the first thing you do is a add a version of the Unity editor. The editor is where you will actually make your games and animations. So you go to installs and add an install. Over here, it will ask which version do you want to install, and also which modules. I already have a I already have one version installed, so I wouldn't be installing, but these are all the modules that you can install alongside it. Okay, there are a ton of modules which you can install. For my installation, I did not add any kind of modules to it because I already have a code editor, that is Visual Studio Code, uh, VS Code with me. And so after installing your version of Unity editor, what you do is make your first project. Uh, let me add a new project just so that you guys know. We'll just call it first project. And so this is the name of the project that you are creating, and the location is where all the files regarding that project will be stored. So you specify those and what kind of a project you want, whether it's a 3D, it's just a general 3D file, a 2D, uh, there's a render pipeline, micro games, where like a lot of the stuff that you will have to make from scratch are already done for you. For now we'll just have a normal 3D uh, normal 3D project created. Now you do have to keep in mind that it usually takes some time to create the project. So while it is creating the project, I can tell you this thing about Unity. Like, it's not just for people who are learning, because learning game development, because like the people who want to get into the world of game dev, they think that all games they are made using proprietary engines, which like every single big company uses. Well, that is partially true, but like, the gaming scene they also have indie games and all. So there is variety, and so there are games made using Unity which everyone uses. Okay, now the project has been created. So this is what you're greeted with the moment you have created your project. On the left you have the hierarchy display. Here it will show all the objects that are there on the scene. This is the viewport, which will show whatever is there in your scene. It's for viewing the scene. And in this there is a second tab called game. This game tab, this will be what the game will actually see through the main camera. And and then on the right is the inspector window, where if you have any kind of object selected, all of its properties and components will be shown. And at the bottom you have the project window, where it will show you all the files, all the folder system that's there, and also any kind of files that will be present. Here there's only the scenes folder here, and with only one scene, which is sample scene, which you can see right here. And then you have all these packages which are usually not that relevant, uh, and okay, so this is how the window is supposed to look. Now all everything that you create in any kind of 3D editing is by adding some objects like cubes or cylinders, capsules, etc. So to add one, you go to the hierarchy window, right click, and then you just go to like 3D object or effects, light. You get options to add various kind of things. So for now I will simply add a cube to it, and I just press enter, and that's it. Like there's now a cube in the scene. Oh right, I just zoomed in without telling how I did that. So to move the viewport around, you you can use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Hold the scroll button down and drag, so that you can uh, shift your view perspective, and right click and hold drag, so that you can rotate your view. Okay, using this you can view things from different angles. And let's say you are quite far away from your and working on something which is supposed to be situated here, and you want to go back to the cube. So you just double click the cube and it will zoom and move right back towards it. It won't change any of the rotation. Uh, just a sec. Okay, now that we have added some object, I can talk about components, whatever these do. The first component is transform, and it is associated with basically every single object that you add to the scene. This transform, it specifies where an object is, where it, how it's rotated, and how big it is. So the position and rotation and scale, they are given with axes x, y, and z. So for x, the x position will correspond to the x axis, which is marked by red color in Unity by default. So if I have x position is 5, let me zoom out a little bit. It will have moved 5 blocks over here. So old position and the new position here. Oh. Yeah. So the new position would be 5 blocks in the positive x direction. The same goes for y direction, which is usually considered as the vertical axis. X and z axis, they are for the horizontal plane movement. Then rotation is marked using degrees, degree values for rotating around the specified axis by the number of degrees in clockwise direction. So let me have it rotated for x axis, and I will zoom it towards here. So 0 degrees, it is sitting flat, and you go to 30 and it is rotated clockwise for rotated clockwise by 30 degrees. And then scaling is basically just sizing the object in the given direction. Do remember that the scale does not depend on the rotation, and the rotation is the last thing to be applied to an object. So there is a 1.5 x scale, and I rotated around 90 degrees around the y axis. The scale is calculated for the local x, y, and z axis of the object. So what do I mean by a local axis is that for any kind of object, there is always two different ways of telling its position. First is relative to some position, that is some location that is considered as just the 0 0 by the game engine itself, and the second is the location that is considered 0 0 by the object, by just the object. So that is what a local axis is, and scaling is done on the local axis and not global. And the next component that we can talk about okay, so we have this object, and we have to uh, yeah, we have this object, and a game isn't a game if like all that you do is look at a static object. You have to have some kind of a control over what you're watching, and that is what is considered a game, if I'm correct. So that is what that is where scripts come in. What scripts do is let us change these values which are here for all the components on the fly without us on the fly in the middle of the game running, instead of having uh, right, instead of having is having it specified in the editor itself. So to add scripts, what we do is you right click on your project window, go to create, and C sharp script. You can call it whatever you want. uh, uh, Personally, I believe that scripts should be named according to what they are supposed to do. So let's say this script is here to rotate this box. So I'll just call it rotate box script. So now the so now Unity has created a C sharp script file for me, which I will be which I can edit according to what I want to do. So I will open my project in I'll open my project in File Explorer by using edit assets, and then open C sharp project. This will open your assets folder in the uh, this will open your assets folder in the File Explorer. I go to assets, and I'll open this with VS Code here. So this is our script that we can use to uh, basically do whatever we want. I wouldn't be explaining line by line whatever is happening, but I will be able to give small gists of whatever I am doing. So uh, we want to be able to move this object uh, through scripts, so we need to add another component to this object, and that's called a rigid body. What a rigid body will do is help us help us move this object without having to uh, just calculate every single position for every frame, for every next frame. Okay, so and we don't want this box to just fall down whenever you start the game, and because that is boring. So I have disabled the use gravity, and just give me a minute, I'm facing some issues. Okay, I'm back. Like I was facing a few issues off screen. So, so yeah, you can make the box do whatever you want using scripts. A lot of the times you will have to check the documentation over and over and over again. So that is not very useful when you're trying to code. There is another way to make your scripts, and that's called visual scripting. It is there is a plugin. Yeah, there's a package in Unity that is called Bolt, which is uh, used for visual scripting. I will be showing. Uh, I'll be showing how it is supposed to look. Uh, right, right. Also about Bolt visual scripting is that you have to add it add to my assets first, so that you're able to add it to your projects in Unity. Uh, Unity has a very different, let's just call it a different way of handling packages from asset store, and sometimes it can get on your nerves, but it is made for people who work on a few number of projects and don't need all assets for all projects together. So uh, you add it from the asset store, and then you go to a window, package manager, and uh, here you click on my assets and you will see Bolt here, and you import. And you just click import here, and it will take a little bit of time, and you will have added the visual scripting. And now you're greeted with the Bolt visual scripting setup wizard. This will help you set up your visual scripting for this project. So what kind of a naming you want for the um, what kind of naming you want for these uh, visual scripting nodes and other things. You just scroll all the way to the bottom, press next, and it will take a little bit more time so that it can set it up. And now that this setup is complete, you can simply close it. Now, if we just want to move this cube, instead of having to write a whole script by repeatedly looking at the documentation and all, you can simply add go to add component, bolt, and a flow machine. I would suggest like keep it as macro, because when you keep it as macro, it will create a separate file uh, which will be used as the script. So I'll create a new file, rotate box, and just a flow script, so that I know so that we know the different that it's a different kind of object. And you click to edit craft, and you're directly in the visual scripting portion. Currently you are able to see two only two nodes here. Each of these things are called a node. A start node, which is called every time which is this start node is basically a function which is called the when the first time when either the game is started or the object is created. And the update is a function which is called every single frame that is being done. So we want to rotate our box, so I can add a unit, and it is and let's say we're using the W key. Movement in this visual scripting works almost the same as the viewport, as in uh, you scroll to zoom in and out, and you hold your scroll wheel to move it. I've added a few extra nodes and I changed the position of this object, and now we can see how it's working. It is rotating quite slowly, but and only in one direction, but it is rotating. If you want to add more directions, you can have more input nodes that are there. Okay, now I have added another input node, and so now it is reading a W key as well as an A key. Uh, in the same way, you can have like you can have it not just rotate but also move across in any direction you want, or uh, you can have it move in whichever direction you want, or have it do other things. If you like enable gravity and have some ground over here, you can you can make the object basically jump and fall back down to the ground. That I will show in just a minute. Okay, I've added a few more input key, a few more nodes, and changed it from rotating the object to actually moving it. So just from the beginning itself, like flow scripting, visual scripting, they become messy very fast, but they do have the added benefit that you basically have the whole documentation with you the moment you click add unit. You can you can have basically everything that is herein. I just save it and see how it is. Okay, we are adding some force, but it is not enough to lift the whole object. So this is another thing about game development, that debug uh, you have to debug everything that you're making. Bug is something unexpected that happens out of some code. See, another space bar works works pretty nicely. And also the camera, it always stays at the same place. It's always having the same perspective here. This can be changed. Now, wait, the rest, whatever can be done, is up to the developer, like whatever they want to implement here. Okay, visual. Oh, right. Visual scripting is one way to do this thing, and you saw that. There's another way, and that is through our written script itself. Just don't mind the name now. The role of the script is changed. So I will try and recreate the whole whatever we have achieved with this flow graph. The thing about C Sharp script is that you can add it as a component to any game object that you have in your scene. You just simply select the game object and make sure you have the inspector menu, inspector window also open over here, and you just drag your script at the bottom. It will add your rotate script that's here. Since we are not using the flow machine and testing if this is working, we can just disable it by unchecking this checkbox. Okay, it is not able to understand what do I mean by W here. And that is how it will work. And also there is also one thing that has happened is that instead of using the A key to move to the right, we're using the S key. That can simply be fixed by changing the get key. Okay, we now have like full motion control over this box. There are two problems here that we still have to fix. The first thing is that you can't differentiate between the box and the floor when you're actually playing, because both are completely white in color, so you don't know where the box is unless I actually move it. This can be changed uh, by changing the material of this box. So for this we need a new material. since we have multiple materials, I would suggest having a separate folder. And we go to create and material. This material is for the box. Okay, now we have a material for the cube, and we'll make another one for the plane. But okay, let's create one. Not lens flare. And just like how we added our script to it, we add the material, and same with the floor. Okay, that is problem number one checked out. You can now easily differentiate. Now there's two more problems that are here. First, the box is moving way too fast, and second is that the camera is still, so after one point you can't follow around the box anymore. That's the thing about game development. You add one more feature, it will create two more problems, and and you will have to modify everything you have created before it. So let's first tackle the camera. Let's first tackle the box movement first, because it's the easiest. Instead of having like 24s, let's just have a 10. And now we test it. Okay, the movement is a little bit more tame, still uncontrollable, but this isn't something like, we don't have any direction like what kind of a game this is. We're just trying to experiment with what all these values they do. So it is fine for now. So the next problem is the camera is sitting still. So what we can do is just drag the camera to the cube. So what this does is that it will have the position of the camera relative to the cube. Previously, the camera was considering the global axis as the 0 0. Now it will consider the box's global axis as the 0 0. Now let's see what it is doing. There you go. Now this causes another problem, and you can see it right here. The moment you move, this camera is moving below the ground. It just wants to see this face of the cube all the time. So having the main camera as a child, this is called like when you move this camera below the cube, you basically said the camera like, hey, this cube is your father, you follow him. This is what happens, like it will follow even the rotation. Currently that's not what we want, so we can do this using our scripts. So we'll make use of our previous bolt script, which we are not using right now, and we'll repurpose it for that. Okay, instead of like using the visual scripting, I would make use of a regular C sharp script. Okay, I'll because for some reason I'm not able to get the get the box's position. Okay, so I'll use a new thing, new script, and I'll call it like camera follow, and I'll open this here. And now we add this to our camera after we remove this component. And now we'll test if it's working. And it is. As you can see, the camera is following the box and not copying its rotation. There's also another thing, like when you're on this uh, whenever you're on the plane right now, you can't tell if you are standing still or just rotating randomly. That can be fixed by having a tiling pattern on it, which is done by creating a texture. Now, to create a texture, you can have different methods or applications. Uh, Most people use Photoshop, and since this system is how to say, this isn't like uh, I'm recovering after a reset of the system now. So Photoshop I haven't installed it in it yet. So I'll be using MS Paint right now. So I'll open up Paint and have like 128 by 128 pixel grid. and I'll save this very quickly made texture. So now a lot of two things happened at the same time. Like I saved the image in the assets folder, and Unity just picked it up on its own. Uh, that is what uh, that is why it is good. Like you don't always have to go to file and then edit or import assets and all. You just if you place a file in there, it will get imported automatically. So anyways, back to giving the floor some tiles. All that I have to do is just drag it. Now there's a massive tile in here. You can change how many times it tiles. uh, let's say I wanted like 20, so it's a 20 by 20 grid now. Well, not 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters, but it is made up of 20 units here. And considering how tiny our box is here, that is, and these are very big squares, so we can make it smaller by having more uh, uh, having more tiles here. And now I play it back, and there you go. Now you know that the box is moving actually. And I think that will wrap up this project here, because what we wanted to experiment with, that is done. We did scripting here, we did scripting, material work, the flow, the texture work. And right, you can change how this light falls on the object. Like have a warmer tone. There's a lot you can experiment with when you have a Unity project. And I think next time I should make some very alpha looking but somewhat working of a shooting game thing, because having just a box that moves, and frankly it's not even moving the way you would which is intuitive, because it is just uh, because because it's literally just tumbling around in the direction you want to. So having something that is a little bit more what people are used to seeing, but not really, but still. Uh, I guess that is it. Thank you all for coming. I will next time I'll make some very alpha version looking shooting game thing. Thank you.